Hello, everybody. It is Romania Black, and we're starting a brand new show, Neon Genesis Evangelion. So, I did a poll on Patreon for patrons to replace Moriarty the Patriot, and this is the show that won only by a few votes. So, Monster and Natsumi's Book of Friends, it was a retro poll, and so Monster and Natsumi's Book of Friends are going to stay on future polls too, because I really want to see them eventually. So, if you were a voter of Monster or Natsumi's Book of Friends, those will be on future polls, no worries. But after Moriarty, I had already decided to watch a retro show because I want to watch some more classic anime that I've not gotten to yet. And I kind of have a little bit of a history with this show. I've known about it for years, for decades. I remember in the late 90s, I looked online today for Neon Genesis Evangelion advertisements from the 90s. I did a very specific search. And I instantly found this image. And this image, I swear, in every comic book store, in every anime and manga magazine, this image was there all over the place. I don't know who she is. All I remember is that bright red suit, her red hair, and there was a mech. It looks like a mech. I think it's a mech. So that's all I remember. And as a kid, I was like, that looks interesting. But my history with this show, because you would probably think, well, Romania, you should have watched this if you grew up in the 90s, right? I have a younger brother, and if you have a sibling, you probably know the phase that you go through in your kids, where if your sibling likes something, you don't like it. So, growing up, my brother and I were the only ones in our inner circle that liked manga or anime, and my brother was a big person with mech series like Gundam, like Voltron. He watched Neon Genesis Evangelion, he watched Metabots, things like that, and he was all about it. And because he was all about it, I was not. It was like a petty sibling thing. And so I never watched this series because I was like, oh, my brother likes it. And so years have passed and I just have never gotten around to seeing it. And so I actually saw my brother today and I told him, I'm like, oh, hey, I'm starting a new show. And he's like, oh, what are you starting? And I was like, oh, you'll like this. I'm starting Neon Genesis Evangelion. And all he did, he just looked at me and all he said was, they are really trying to just shred any sense of sanity left in you, aren't they? I was like, what? What does that mean? And he was like, I was like, well, it's just a show about mechs, right? And he went, and then just walked away. So if you're new to this channel, I am reacting to this series blind. The only thing I know about it is that girl in the red suit with the orange hair. She's a main character. I don't know if she's the protagonist or not, but she's a main character and there's maybe mechs involved. I don't know. It's probably futuristic. It's probably like in a post-apocalyptic world, you know, like you do. And it was made in the 90s. So I'm really excited. I'm very excited that Netflix has the entire first season on there and lots of other spin-offs, things like that. Great. Makes it easy for me to watch. So all I know is I've kind of always viewed this as the Attack on Titan of the 90s. And I say that because it seems like it was a really big deal at the time. Everybody was watching it. People in the Discord have been saying that it's a confusing series. And I'm like, we're going to bring Whiteboard-kun out for this. I'm pretty excited. But I've heard it's controversial in the fandom and there's lots of different iterations of things. It's like Digimon. There's 3 different versions of it. So to make things simple, I went online and looked for some spoiler-free viewing order guides. And I read a few of them just to get like a generalized idea because there's so many versions out. And this is the order that I'm going to follow it in. And this is the order I'm sticking to. So I'm going to watch the original series in its entirety. I've heard the last 2 episodes are controversial. I don't want to know why yet. I don't want to be spoiled. I've just heard they're controversial. And I'm like, okay, fine. That there's apparently like a director's cut or something. But I'm going to watch all 26 episodes in their original format as they originally aired. And then I'm going to skip Death and Rebirth because there was one viewing guide that said that the first part of Death and Rebirth is basically just a recap. And I'm not a recap person. I don't like reacting to those. And then the second half was basically end of Evangelion. And I was like, okay. So I'm going to watch all 26 episodes, watch End of Evangelion after that, and then do the rebuild movies, the 3 rebuilds. And I've heard there's 14 volumes of the manga out there. So who knows? If I get done with the rebuild movies, I may do a soapbox about the manga. May go from there. But there's lots of Neon Genesis Evangelion content. I'm pretty excited to get into something that is from the 90s that's a little bit more retro, going back to my roots, and a show that I feel like I need to have watched. And especially with me watching Attack on Titan right now, this seems like it fits a similar vein, perhaps, and being a little bit more psychological and dealing with maybe moral issues, things, who knows. But my brother did say, he's like, your Whiteboard-kun is going to get a workout. And I'm like, oh, exciting. I'm excited, right? Whiteboard-kun, if you don't know, watch Attack on Titan, my reviews of it, and you'll probably see it. It's my dry erase board I have off in the wings to help me explain things if I need to. And I've really only used it for Attack on Titan and a couple of BL series that I've looked at, but that's been it. So maybe that'll change. But in any case, I am going into this blind. So as per usual, there will be a link down below in the description that will link to the actual reaction. And then we'll come back on here for copyright reasons, obviously. And then we'll come back here and then we'll discuss the actual episode and talk about it. Sounds great, right? But I'm pretty excited. I've no clue what I'm getting into, except it's 90s. There may be a mech, and that's about it. So we shall see, right? But let's not waste any more time, shall we? We are going to start Neon Genesis Evangelion Episode 1, Angel Attack. We're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. We're one episode in. And welcome to Whiteboard-kun. This is Whiteboard-kun. And yeah, Whiteboard-kun is my partner in crime in helping to explain things. We're one episode into this series. And at the end of it, I stopped the video and I was like, am I really getting Whiteboard-kun out? But I almost feel like I need to. I feel like I need to because what? This was this is definitely a first episode that you are either going to be on board with this series or you're going to be like, nope. Very Attack on Titan-like. Like, I feel like Attack on Titan's the same way. Either in that first episode, you're either going to be like, I want to watch more, or nope, taking the other pill and piecing out. And, okay. I feel like we skipped a lot of backstory on Shinji and a lot of things. I feel like they set up a lot of mystery in this episode because you kind of get the relationship of him and his dad a little bit, but there's little gaps in time and little things that you're like, wait, something's different, something's missing. So, okay. I've gone back to this. I'm seeing a lot of, maybe Isayama was influenced by Neon Genesis Evangelion. I'm seeing some influences maybe, but especially with this dad figure, Ikari. Oh my gosh. Okay. So 2015, huh? It was a great year. Not quite as bleak as it is in here. Okay, so 2015 AD is our time frame. That is our time frame. We're going to start there. We're going to start from there. There's a lot of things that they just throw at you and they're like, here, you know this. And it's like, oh, okay. All right, sure, I'll figure it out. And lots of little things. I feel like going back and rewatching this series and discussing it with you all is going to be important because this series, it feels like a lot of imagery and different things are just thrown at you and they expect that you're either going to rewatch it or that you're going to know what's up. It's like, oh, and I'm wondering when I eventually get to the manga, I don't want to know, no manga spoilers, because I do eventually want to read the manga. After seeing this first episode, I'm like, oh, I'm reading the manga. Absolutely. So no manga spoilers, please. But interesting. So let's break this down. Holy cow. There's a lot happened in this episode. So, okay, from the very get-go, we have this city underwater, like the remnants of this city. And we see this angel, so it's called, and we see it kind of swimming through the water here. And it does not look like a mech. Let's get that out of the way first and foremost. It does not look like a mech. So we have these things called angels. All right. We have these things called angels. They look organic. It's weird. They look organic. They don't look like mechs in the weirdest of ways. They look organic. So I'm curious to know what their origin story is. I'm assuming that's what this whole series is going to be. We're going to find out. But yeah, so we have the angels. They're organic, and they are our threat, supposedly. They are the threat to humanity is what they call them. Okay. And you can kind of see why. They're just walking. This thing's like a walking disaster. It's just destroying everything. But when it's swimming underwater there, it looks like it's looking for something. It seemed like it was looking for something or someone because it's just like it keeps swimming by it. And so then we have the UN, all right? I don't know if this is supposed to be the United Nations, if it's supposed to be a play on that, and this is just a version of it for this future apocalyptic timeline. But I'm going to put like our more military terms over here. and get there. So we have the UN. We're going to touch back on them. Okay. That's this military group that seems like they're all stationed around the roads and everything, like they're waiting on this angel to appear. And it's at 12:30 p.m. today, a special state of emergency has been declared to the Tokai region and the surrounding mid-Kanto region. And like the whole city's underwater. It's crazy. And then there's somebody just like running in the distance. All residents proceed to your designated evacuation shelter. And everybody clearly has done that because the city is empty. There's no one there except for Shinji. And then this girl that's going after him. Like, everybody's left their cars. Everybody's been like, no, this attack is serious. Interesting. And then, okay, so 90s technology is amazing. And I think I'm going to love this series a lot because it's clearly this was made in the late 80s, early 90s. You can tell because it's like their modern version of equipment that would have existed back then. So it's kind of cool. They have a GPS. They have an actual GPS, which didn't really exist in the 90s. That's kind of cool that the actual GPS is on there. That didn't exist back then, so that's really neat. I like that. They also still have car phones, which we don't have a cellular device. I do like that. In the year 2015, there are no cell phones. It's literally like an upgraded car phone, and they have the regular phones. It's great. I love it. But yeah, GPS, who knew? So this girl, and then girl drives a stick shift. I mean, kudos. I love the car phone, though. And it looks like an 8-track player. So she has the file on Shinji Ikari. So we're going to break down our characters here. Shinji Ikari is our main boy here. Interesting. All right, so we're going to break him down. Okay. And has the badge. And then it says, all phone lines are currently disabled due to the special state of emergency. I think that's really scary that they disabled all the phone lines. I get why they would do that because it's a state of emergency. But it's just like if you needed help or something, what do you do? And he's all by himself here. So he's the only one that's not gone to the evacuation place, right? And I can't reach her. So I'm guessing that's the girl that he was supposed to, it says Tokyo 3. I guess he's like, that's the girl I was supposed to get with to get out of here. All right, so we're also going to say Tokyo 3 was thrown around in here too. Which I guess is like, maybe that's the third time they've rebuilt Tokyo since then. Crazy. Okay. I shouldn't have come. Okay. And then her like, I'll never make it. So like her card and everything she gave him, I can't read what it says on the photo, but she's like in this suggestive pose and she's drawn like an arrow to her cleavage being like, and she has the kissy mark. So was that her like lure to get him to come out? Because I'm guessing he's a teenage boy, and they threw around the term 15 years ago at some point in this episode, so I'm going to guess Shinji's 15. I'm going to guess that he's 15. Because they threw that number around later in the episode, and I was like, oh, is that tying to some special event? We're going to talk about this. But I'm assuming he's 15, and he's been lured in by this girl. Interesting. Interesting indeed. And saying that's that then. I might as well head to the shelter. So, first off the bat, talking about these characters, Shinji he's kind of pessimistic. Just right off the bat. He's a little bit pessimistic from the start. Like, he just instantly, he tries to call once, and then he's like, it's not worth it. It's like, I guess I'll just go to a shelter. And then, but then he sees Rei. Because that's Rei, right? He looks up and sees her in like a school uniform, and then he looks away and she's gone. But that's Rei. That's the girl that we'll see later that was one of the pilots of the Evangelion. And he saw her and then looked away and then she was gone. And then there's like a shockwave and a tremor. I love the stoplights and everything. Oh. And then that's the UN guys coming in to fight the angel. Okay, and then there is the angel itself. And yeah, it just looks like a monster. And Shinji looks terrified at it. An unidentified object is continuing its approach towards it. And there's so much futuristic sci-fi stuff here. For the record, I love 90s sci-fi. And I try to say it in the reaction, but it's so grungy. I love like the dirty, grungy feel of it. Like, a lot of modern sci-fi is clean and sterile and metallic and polished, and it just feels like if you watch a lot of modern sci-fi, it's very minimalist, and there's not like a lot of extra stuff lying around. It's very clean and orderly and just polished and like sterile. 80s and 90s sci-fi is just like disgusting. Like, it's just super hyper detailed, really grungy. There's parts and pieces, and it's so intricately designed. I love it. Like, the amount of drawing and visuals, like the time they took to animate this, it's great. And they didn't have CG like they do now in this, so it's amazing. Like, just the amount of time and effort it took. So then we get our introduction to Mr. Ikari. Ikari. I'm going to say Ikari. Mr. Ikari, who is Shinji's dad. He's interesting. At first, all we see are his glasses. And I'm assuming we just see his glasses in the reflection because they don't want to give away that it's Shinji's dad, because him and Shinji look surprisingly alike. They look surprisingly similar. And he has the gloves on. The gloves, that's the thing. The gloves and the glasses. He is super mysterious, right? And I like that they use this like symbolic imagery of the gloves and the glasses to like show how closed off he is, that we don't get to see, you know, the real him. Like, we don't get to see his hands or his eyes. And then there's this guy behind him who I like his character so far. He's interesting. And they say it's been 15 years. There's no doubt about it. It's an angel. Okay, and then we get our title card about angel attack. So it's been 15 years, okay, since they've seen an angel, maybe? Okay. 15 years since then, so it's been 15 years since that attack. I'm going to guess Shinji's about 15. There's some kind of correlation and connection to all this, I'm sure, but they're just setting it up. But I'm assuming that Shinji's age and this angel attack has something to do with it. And yeah, they're just firing these missiles and Shinji just reacting to it. Like, he's just having to stand there and watch it happen and things just being destroyed. And they're literally, and this thing has like, it has missiles coming out of its arms, its hands, its body. It's a weapon. It's crazy. It kind of looks like the Evangelion, but it's organic. So I'm curious. And it just flies off, and I like Shinji's reactions in this. He's just like, shit, this is insane. This kid's having to see all this. Oh, and then she pops up right as he's like ducking from the attack. This girl. And she's like, hey, look at me. I just made this cool entrance. But it almost, the angel, it's this piece of destruction, but it like tilts its head. It has a very bird-like head. It tilts its head and it just kind of blinks and looks. It doesn't look like it has like an intelligence. It's very like autonomous, like just instinctual and conscious, but it doesn't seem like it has an intelligence to it. It just seems like it's just reacting to whatever they do to it. And it has an extremely sturdy body, and so it's defending itself, and then it just attacks back. Because yeah, they're just firing missiles and gunfire and everything at it, and it just doesn't do much. I love the like her shifting the gears. Like, that animation was so good. Some of the animation in this episode was great. And yeah, 90s car animation. It's just badass. I love it. It's continuing its advancement towards Tokyo 3. Okay. And the area units are unable to slow its advance. I love that we have these three generals that are all just in a row, and we see them all like from one angle at the start and then from another angle, and them saying it's total war, launch all units from Atsugi and Iruma as well. Okay. Commit everything we have, crush the target at all costs. And he just like breaks the pencil. Oh, it's great. And yeah, they're trying to like, they fire missiles at it, and the animation when it grabs the missile, the hell? It just blows up. Oh my gosh. And then, yeah, this makes no sense. They were direct hits. So we get this thing. I'm going to use the blue marker. So Nerv. We get this thing called Nerv, which is a division that partners with the UN, it seems. And we're going to get some explanation about Nerv here in a little bit. I find that interesting that Nerv, it's like nervous system. It's like connecting all that together. And these Evangelions seem like they have like a psychic link to their hosts or their pilots. So, I wonder if Shinji, thinking about him, if Shinji, because when the Evangelion, when the Unit 1 reacts to him, I wonder if Shinji is especially like sensitive and has some kind of like psychic ability. He has like some kind of maybe psychic ability. I'm gonna put this on here. Like maybe he has a psychic like ability or sensitivity. And I only say that because he sees Rei in that vision, and then when the Evangelion, when the Eva unit responds to him, it's almost like they had a psychic link together. And maybe that's why the dad was like, oh, my son will work with this as a pilot because he has the psychic link. He has the psychic ability necessary to combine and merge with this, whatever this is, if it's a mech or whatever. Interesting. Okay, and the armament battalion's been wiped out. I love that we have the ashtray and all the cigarettes are just hanging off it. Very 90s. This kind of firepower isn't getting us anywhere. An AT field. Standard weapons will be useless against the angels. Okay, so there's multiple ones. There are multiple angels, supposedly. So there's multiple angels, and it seems like he is the head of the Eva unit, the Evangelions. And it almost seems like he's waiting for the military to run out of options, and then he'll be an option. So it seems like he's just biding his time and waiting on them to need Ikari. So, or Ikari. So, And then I love the fact they have to swipe the card to use the phone. It's great. It's a great little sci-fi thing. And then they're just going to use a landmine. Like, it's just a full-scale assault on this whatever it is. And then poor Shinji here. He's like up against the window, like this kid, and she's like leaning over him. Her design's interesting, like with the cross necklace and everything, like, and the gloves and the purple hair. Oh my gosh. And then she said, get down. Of course we gotta get a butt shot because it's 90s, and why not? But yeah, it's just like a nuclear blast. And it's not supposed to be funny, but when they lift their heads out of the car and it shows them like looking around, oh my gosh. And then there's like a shockwave. Yeah, it shows them just like looking at it. It's not funny, but it's kind of played up to be. And so then they say your services weren't required this time. So like, again, we don't need you. The military's got this under control. And then I like that this guy behind Ikari, he kind of looks over at him like, they say they're not going to need us. And the dad says nothing. Okay. And so Shinji's kind of indifferent about all this. He's like, well, we just survived a shockwave from this giant landmine. I'll help you push this car over. Like, it's nothing. Like, this is just a casual, things just happen like this all the time. And he's such a little kid. And she's like, I couldn't have done it without you. Miss Katsuragi. So he's like, I should be thanking you, Miss Katsuragi. And so Masato. Okay, so we have Masato Katsuragi. All right. And she is our civil servant. That is our emissary to go pick up Shinji and take him to his dad. Interesting. Nice to meet you, Shinji Ikari. And he seems polite enough. So Shinji, he's pessimistic. He's kind of indifferent. All right? He's kind of indifferent. He is polite, at least. He's not like rowdy or mean-spirited. He's polite and seems like a decent person. He's just kind of indifferent and pessimistic a little bit. And then target status is unknown. So yeah. And so, of course, these generals think that he's obliterated, or it's obliterated, but the angel spikes and it comes back and it's fine. And I love the imagery of, we saw the three generals facing one way at the start, and then I love them slowly, each of them falling back into the chair, being like, that was our ace in the hole. This can't be happening. It's a monster. And it's like, And yeah, it looks monstrous. What the hell? And it's growing another head out of it. Like it's just mutating. The hell? And so yeah, I love that she just duct taped their car together. So she says not to worry, his protection is top priority. And like she's on the phone. So have the car shuttle train standing by the direct service line. All right. I am the one who said I would go meet him. All right. So I'm keeping my word. Okay. So she's like, I said I'd go get you, Shinji. I did. Right? then I just love this inner monologue. This is such like an adult monologue where she's like, what a day. And here's the thing, like she says, what a day. It's not the fact that there was just like a nuclear explosion or that there's a giant monster that could possibly kill everyone in existence. It's not that she's like, what a day about. She says, what a day. I just had this car restored and it's trashed already. And then she's like, repair fees on top of another 33 months of car payments. Plus my outfit is ruined. So she is very materialistic, right? I'm going to say her priorities are a little out of whack, but maybe that's the whole way the society is. It's kind of insane that that's her worries, not the imminent doom surrounding her. She's just like, oh, damn, my outfit's ruined and I got to pay. I'm going to have more car payments. My insurance is going to go up. Like, okay, Masato. And she's like, I got all decked out for today. Like today was a special day. I went to get Shinji, and maybe it was because she was going to see a current. We'll talk about her in a minute. Maybe it was because she was going to see her. And then when Shinji gets her attention, I thought he was like, excuse me, Miss Masato. And she's like, guess what? He's like, was it okay for you to do that? Oh, don't worry about it. The battery pack. So did she just like steal a bunch of batteries to use it? Like steal a bunch of batteries off other cars? It's an emergency. I had to get the car moving, right? Oh, so did she just steal batteries from other cars? Is that what she did? And Shinji's like, should you have done that? So Shinji, he's polite and I'm going to say morally lawful good, maybe? Lawful good? I'm going to say that. Lawful good. Lawful good for now. I'm going to say lawful good because he questions whether or not that was the appropriate thing to do. But yeah, this materialistic girl, Masato. Interesting. And so yeah, that's just another day in the life, I guess. I might not look it, but I'm international civil servant, so she handles international things, so it's perfectly legit. And he's like, that's not very convincing. Yeah. She says, lighten up. Yeah, she's like, you're really uptight. So that's the other thing she says about him. She's like, you're really uptight. So we're going to put that he's being called an uptight for a kid. He's a lot more mature than his age suggests, right? He's a lot more mature, all right? She calls him uptight, lawful good. He's a lot more mature than a 15-year-old normally is, which if you grew up in this state, sure. And he has a giant notebook that says the Nerv thing. And he's like, am I? And she's like, oh, are you mad? And he looks mad. He's just like, has like a grumpy badger face. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. You're a boy after all. Actually, you seem a bit childish for someone your age, Miss Masato. And she's like, I love that exchange between them where she's like, oh, well, it's fine if you're a little childish. You're just a little boy after all. And he's like, well, you seem pretty childish for your age. And she's like, that face she made, that's something I would make. That's funny. But God, this thing, as we predicted, it's regenerating. The hell? It's just really creepy. If it couldn't, it would be worthless as a standalone weapon. So that begs the question of who's using the angels. If the angels are a weapon, if they're a weapon, then who is using them? Because he makes it sound like they're kind of like the Evangelions, only it's another organization or another group or another entity. Something's using them. But that begs the question of what? And they seem organic, so don't know. And then just firing at the camera. Oh my God. Very impressive. It's even capable of enhancing its abilities. And it's getting smarter. So, okay, so it learns. Okay, so it has the capacity to learn. Okay. The capacity to enhance and learn. Okay. All right. These angels are mysterious. Interesting. So yeah, it's only a matter of time before it resumes its advance and goes that way. Okay. Yep. And so then we go into Nerv, and there was something here. Okay. And so there's some writing on the wall here. It says, God's in his heaven. All's right with the world. Ooh, that's chilling. Woo! Okay. So we have Nerv, and we have this phrase on the door that says, God's in his heaven. All's right with the world. Ooh. Well, we got this whole angels thing and Eva and Evangelion being brought up, and there was the term Adam in the OP. So definitely think we're getting into some like spiritual stuff in this sci-fi, but and so the symbol for Nerv is half of it either looks like a butterfly or half a leaf, right? It looks like the way that the leaf is the leaf looks kind of like, because on the Nerv there's like, it's bisected here, and there's like, you could say it almost looks like angel wings kind of, right? Like angel wings, or I thought it was more like a leaf, like this, like the cross section of a maple leaf, maybe. It looked like that. It could be that, or it kind of looks almost like butterfly wings, or maybe angel wings. But yeah. Okay. Interesting. Getting a little spirituality with our sci-fi. Okay. So it says it's a secret organization currently directly attached to the UN. So it's a secret group. Okay. All right. So it's not publicly known. Okay. And then he says, my father works here, doesn't he? Do you know what your father does here? And he doesn't directly answer. A teacher told me he has an important job protecting humanity. So Shinji doesn't know what his dad does directly. He just knows that his dad is supposedly protecting humanity. But he doesn't know exactly what he does. And so, or he says his teacher told him that, but he doesn't say directly if he knows what he does. He just repeats what his teacher says. Interesting. And then we cut to the dad, and this is the first time we see Shinji's dad's eyes. And Mr. Ikari, like he definitely looks like Shinji. He looks like an older version of him. A lot. And him in front of the three generals. As of this moment, you've been given command over this operation. Okay, let's see what you can do. Ikari, I'll admit that our ordinance is ineffective against the target. Well, obviously, he's been sitting there watching you. Can you defeat it, though? And then he says that's what Nerv is for. And so he does the glasses thing, the pushing up the glasses. So he's the head of the Nerv Association. And they're like, don't let us down. Okay. Its current intercept capacity is 7.5%. And I like this guy. He says, you know, if UN forces have given up, then what do you intend to do? And he's like, we'll activate Unit 1. And he says, there's no pilot. And he says, not a problem. The spare pilot will arrive shortly. So, okay. We're going to talk about the dad. We're going to talk about old Mr. Ikari here. So maybe not Father of the Year right off the bat. Maybe not Father of the Year. I'm going to say no. Because they have this thing called Unit 1, which is one of the EVAs. We'll just call it EVAs for short. And he basically, it seemed like, that's the weird thing. It seemed like he was bringing Shinji there anyway because he was like, we need another pilot. And it just so happened that as he was getting Shinji there, this angel showed up and he was like, well, crap, what perfect timing. My kid's arriving just as we need him. So he plans on using Shinji as the pilot. Okay? As the spare, quote unquote. The spare pilot for the Unit 1. Okay. It's curious because he's just like, I brought my kid here anyway. And he says, will we be going to see my father? And she says, yes, I think so. And Shinji's not happy about that. Like, he's really distraught. And we see him as a kid, and like his shirt is off to the side, it's unbuttoned, it's hanging off his shoulder, and there's just a big duffel bag. And it looks like he's on the side of a road. Like, it just seemed like Shinji was abandoned by his father. Right? It just seems like he was abandoned by his dad. And so, of course, he'd be like, oh, we're going to go see him. And he's like, did your father send you any ID forms? And he's like, oh, yeah, he did. And he's got them all taped together. It's just like, she just says thanks. And it's all taped together. And it says, come here. Gendo Ikari. Okay, so we do get to see what it says. And it's like his ID code. Everything else has been blacked out. But his name is Gendo. Okay. So Shinji and Gendo. Alright. We do Gendo. Interesting. Okay. And she says, read through this, okay? And so it's the top secret. Welcome to Nerv. It's his father's work. She's like, here's the manual your dad made. He wanted you to read it. And so he asks there, that's important, because she gives him the top secret manual and asks him to read it. And he asks her, after throwing it, he says, am I supposed to do something here? And she doesn't answer him. So she knows too. She's like, there has to be. Otherwise, father wouldn't have written to me. Yeah, he's like, my dad abandoned me and left me all by myself. And now he wants me to come to where he works. They clearly are going to use me. What's the deal? And she says, oh, I see. Dealing with your father isn't your strong suit, huh? And I'm like, well, hell, if he abandoned him, no, clearly not. Interesting. She's like, just like me, huh? And so Shinji's like, I don't know what to make of this. I don't want to say Shinji's not very good at communication because he knows how to talk, but it's just like he's been just picked up and thrown into this, right? And he received a letter from his father who he's been estranged from for all these years. So clearly, I'm sure he would want to go see his dad, and he's heard all about him and how he seems like he's someone relatively well known in the societal sphere there. So, But I also love that Shinji, for as indifferent as he can seem, it may just be too that he is more introverted at first, right? And he just needs to warm up to you because he's been very like timid and standoffish, but the moment he actually sees like the Tokyo 3 and everything underground, he like is like, oh, cool. He's like a bona fide geofront. She's like, that's right. Over there is our secret base, Nerv headquarters. And he's in such awe. Like he's so happy in that moment. Like he's just so enamored by this amazing technology and this base and everything. So Shinji is capable of being in awe and happy and intrigued. It's just he's very timid. Okay. And she like noticed, and Masato notices that, which is interesting. And so we have this like whole upside down city. It's like upside down, and then you see the upside down city, and then you see like the city under it. So freaky cool. And it's like the key to rebuilding the world, the last bastion of humanity. Interesting. And then we have the title, the mid-credit. And then we have the title card. God, we're like halfway through. So I really like this. We're seeing part of the city too, right? I want to get back there and see. So yeah, we just cut to it for a split second. It's like you all spent that much time on the map drawing. So we see the headquarters, and it's like a pyramid going underground. Interesting. And there's like a big skyscraper beside it. This is so strange. And so then it's like you are here, and it's like a hexagon. It's a big hexagon. And then they're like, I swear it was this way. Like that map is ridiculous. Like, how could you navigate that? Level 20. Oh my God. Wearing skirts in this place is a bad idea. I wonder where Ritsuko went. I don't have my bearings yet. So she seems like she's new, and he's like, we passed through here already. So Shinji, okay, getting his character, he is perceptive, right? He is perceptive because he's doing the Belle from Beauty and the Beast thing, reading the Nerv book, reading the book. But he is, so here's the thing. While he's reading this book with this manual and all the guides and everything he's supposed to be reading, he is perceptive enough to also have his bearings to know that they've passed that corridor a second time. So he is paying attention, and he is noticing his surroundings. He's just also reading the book. So I'm assuming that Shinji is probably smart. He's just a kid. That's the thing. He's just a teenager. So then we have Ritsuko. We're going to get her. All right. And she seems like she's relatively new then, that Masato's new, because she's never been there, seemingly. Nerv has systems for this very situation. Paging project. She's like, all right, Ritsuko Akagi. All right. Ritsuko Akagi of Technology Division Section 1. So Tech Division 1. Okay, so she's like in the tech department. All right. Project E director. Okay. So she is the Evangelion Project E director. All right. So she is actually pretty high up there, right? Whereas Masato is just like a civil servant. She's not high up in the food chain, but Akagi is. Okay. Dr. Ritsuko Akagi. And so we see like the underwater scuba gear, like with the mask and everything. Contact Captain Masato. Okay, Katsuragi of Operations Division. Okay, so Masato is a captain of the Operations Division. Okay. They're in separate departments. Okay, so we have all this scuba diving gear. And then she's coming up from diving into whatever this purple gunk is. Okay, we have to have this sexy swim shot because 90s. And she's lost again, isn't she? Okay, so she's like, really? She has interesting design. She's very pretty. Old Akagi is. I wonder what she's diving. What would you be diving for in this facility? And I love the transitions. Some of the transitions in this episode are really well done, like the elevator door opening, and then there's her. I like her design. I like her hair. She's got the little mole. And they know each other on a first name basis. I'm bumping boobs together, girls. Is this a ship? Is Mitsuto and Akagi a ship? Uh-huh. Just sitting here in her Baywatch bathing suit. Now, Masato calls her on a first name basis. She's like, Ritsuko. But Ritsuko calls her Captain Katsuragi. Like, she's a little bit more formal. So it's like, we're short on manpower and time. Okay. And she's like, oh, sorry. She's like, sure thing. And this is the boy. And she's like, yeah, he's the third children reported by the Murdoch Institute. So we're getting a bunch of terms that we have no clue what they mean yet. But I'm just gonna point this out here. We're just getting a lot of terminology that's like, you don't need to know what this means yet. So he's the third children. Okay, third children reported by the Marduk Institute. Okay. Apparently that's something. And that is seemingly important. Okay. And she says, nice to meet you. And he's so enthralled in his book. And he's like, uh-huh. And that's another way he takes after his father. A total lack of charm. Okay. So, yeah, because he's kind of engrossed in this book. It's weird. He's perceptive about his bearings and everything. But socially, he's just kind of like a little bit aloof. But he's a kid. He's a teenage boy. And so he's just like, oh, hey. And then Masato makes the comment that he has a total lack of charm. It's like, okay. And so then the dad comes down to take care of things here. I do like this guy, this military man. I don't know who he is. We don't have a name for him yet. But Gendo's partner, I don't know if he's a corporal. I don't know if he's a general. I don't know what he is. But I really like him. His expression when Gendo goes down there to see Shinji, it's just kind of sad, right? It's just kind of sad. He says they haven't seen each other in 3 years. Okay, so that's a big thing, right? So Shinji has not seen his dad. So these two here, there's been a 3-year gap. Okay, and that's pretty important because the image that Shinji has in his mind of him as a child being abandoned by Gendo does not match up with the timeline. Like, that kid there looks like he's maybe 5 or 6, and Shinji now looks like he's 15. So it seems like there's like a 10-year gap between the flashback he has and now, whereas the 3-year gap doesn't quite match. So interesting. I'm curious. Again, there's stuff they're not telling us right off the bat. It's a mystery box. Deputy commander. Okay, so he is a deputy commander. Okay. I can't believe I'm talking this much in episode 1. But this episode's crazy. Very well, all personnel conditioned to the battle stations. And so then the imagery of them going up the elevator here. Like, they're going through this purple liquid. It looks like purple liquid, or it looks like something. And so they're having this conversation while there's all this imagery. And so they're talking about I want to get this right because there's like multiple things happening at once and it's kind of insane. And so there's like the crisscross there and they're like, this sounds bad. And so then they say, how is Unit 1, which is the Evangelion? And they say it's being cooled down in its type B configuration, whatever that amounts to. Is that thing really going to work? It hasn't worked once, right? Okay, so the EVA unit, so the Unit 1, okay, has not worked. We've established that it has not worked so far. Something's been amiss, right? Okay. And saying the success rate of activation is... So there's an activation that is required. And its success rate right now is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. It's 3 zeros, 6. There's so many. 0, 0, 1%. It's not much at all, right? And as they're saying this, as they're talking about this, they go past this hand. There's like a hand coming out of the liquid and everything towards them. What the hell? And saying calling it the O9 system was certainly appropriate, the 0 to 9. But I'm like, what is that hand? Is it like a sculpture? Is it in the water? What is that? No one's drawing attention to it. And Shinji, it's almost like Shinji should be paying attention to this right now, but he's so absorbed in his book that, and it's like, is he listening to their conversation and pretending like he's absorbed? What does that mean? But that hand coming up towards him, like it's reaching for Shinji to grab him, like to pull him towards it. What? Doesn't that mean it won't work? And then Ritsuko says, don't be rude. It's not 0%. And they're sure numerically. We don't have the luxury of accepting failure. And then, oh my God, like going through the water and everything. What is in that? And there's like bits and so it looked almost like a hand of one of those Evangelion, and there's like just okay, so if that's the Evangelion's hand underwater, because it does look like its hand was submerged in the water there. If that is the Evangelion, then it reaching for Shinji, like it wanting Shinji. The hell? That's creepy. So it could have been reaching for Shinji. Okay. Okay. Sure thing. Why not? And so, yeah, the Evangelion Unit 1. And I love this. I love when they turn on the lights and he just sees, and it's the face of it staring at him. Like it's waited for him. And he's like, it's a giant robot. And he's looking for it. And she says, and Ritsuko says, you won't find this in the orientation book. This is the ultimate multi-purpose decisive combat weapon system created by man. The artificial human Evangelion. Unit 1 of the series. Built in complete secrecy. And Shinji's just taking this all in, right? Okay. This is mankind's very last trump card. And so Shinji's like, this is part of my father's work. And she says, correct. And speak of the devil. God, and the thing of it is that Shinji's dad, Gendo, he just looks creepy. Like him looking down at his son, like very creepy. And like there's clearly animosity between them, right? And him saying it's been a while. And Shinji just looks terrified of him. Like he's ashamed to look at him. Like he's afraid of him. What? And he has like kind of a smile. I'm like, I don't get good vibes from the dad. And he says, launch the EVA. And so they said Unit 00 is still grounded. Okay. And they want to use Unit 1. So there's at least another unit. There is also a Unit 00, apparently. Okay, so maybe that was the original one. That might be the one that Rei uses, is the 00 unit. Okay, that might be the one that Rei's using. Okay. All right. And Misato seems like she's not on board with this. And she's worried about Rei. She's like, Rei is in no condition for that. And then Akagi's like, we're not using Rei. She's like, he just arrived, the pilot. And then, yeah, Misato's like, are you serious? And poor Shinji. She's like, Shinji Ikari, you're going to pilot it. And he's like, wait, what? It took Rei Ayanami. Okay, so Rei Ayanami, 7 months to synchronize. Okay. All right. So apparently there's like a synchronization process, and for her it took 7 months, and they just think Shinji's gonna do it instantly. It's like, sweet. It seems to work out. I'm glad that's going for them. But and just him. And they're like, he literally just got here. That's the thing that floors me. Like all I ask that he sit in the cockpit, nothing more. And see, it kind of starts out this way where Akagi's like, Akagi tries to take the passive aggressive route where she's like, I just want him to sit in the cockpit. Like, just sit in the cockpit. And knowing what we know now about the process of getting in this EVA unit, it's like, once you sit in the cockpit, there's like all this ooze and all this other stuff. You're not just going to sit there. It like puts you in the thick of it. So she kind of like tries to lure him in. And then the dad gets, okay, we'll get to that. Repelling that angel is our number one priority. And for that, we need anyone capable of synchronizing with an EVA to try, however remote the chances. So I'm guessing Katsuragi has experience. Maybe she tried to sync up with one and it didn't work. But Shinji, and then Masao's like, you're right. And then Shinji is interesting in this episode because he kind of freaks out, but then he's so like, kind of, I don't know, he's perceptive, but he seems like kind of distant in this moment, like he was thinking about something. And he's like, why did you send for me? And he's like, the reason that you're thinking. And he's like, you want me to get in this thing and fight that thing out there right now? And he's like, yes. And he's like, I don't want to do that. Why'd you send for me after all this time? I thought you left me because you didn't need me. And he's like, I do now, so I sent for you. So this dad is like this toxic gaslighting here, where he's just like, he basically, I guess 3 years ago, he basically told Shinji he didn't need him. He didn't need him, but now he does. And he brought him here to pilot this mech and just didn't tell him about it at all. He just had him show up and was like, oh, by the way, here's what you're doing. And it's like, what? And it's such an asshole response where he's like, well, I didn't need you then, but now I do. And it's like, and the fact that he's like seeing, it looks like he's registering his son's expressions, like mad scientist vibes with this dad. And like, what are you doing to your kid? Like, what experiments are you doing on this child? Like, this kid clearly is, and I just love his face darkening. And he's like, but why me? Because it's impossible for anyone else. It is for me too. I've never seen or heard of this thing before. Yeah, Shinji's like, you expect me to pilot this thing and destroy a monster and I've been here for 5 seconds? I know nothing about this. But the dad seems convinced that he can. He's like, I can't possibly do it. And he's like, learn how. Like, he's like, that's impossible. Like, this is just the most insane first episode conversation between a father and son that haven't seen each other for 3 years. And it's almost as if he's like, there's no way I can pilot this. It's almost like you wonder what Shinji was expecting coming here, being summoned by his dad. If he knew something like this was going to be brought up, you wonder that. But, and the dad, we just see, I love the animation. You can see through the glasses, right? Because a lot of times in anime, when they have the image over the glasses, you can't see the eyes. No, you can see, if you look carefully, you can see the dad's eyes, Gendo's eyes, with Shinji just looking forlorn and like, I can't do this. You can actually see Gendo's eyes looking down at him. He's like, if you're going to pilot, do it, or otherwise get out. And like, even the mechanics and everything, everybody looks over like, and that shot of him with the eye of the Evangelion looking straight at him. And the dad's just like, well, you're either going to do it or leave. What the hell? Like, this kid, you're his son. He's your son. You're his father. And then as they say that, then the angel is attacking the city. The bastard figured out where we are and is attacking them. So it's like, and then Akagi says, Shinji, we don't have much time. But I'm like, y'all, who else are you going to use? And Shinji, and then Masato says, get in. It's like, if I were Shinji, I would be like, excuse me? I was brought here. I didn't know why. I was just told by my dad to come here. I figured something bad was going to happen, but I didn't know as soon as I got here, 5 seconds in, they'd be asking me to pilot this thing I've never seen before to fight a monster that's nuking the city. What? It's such a weird thing, because normally in series like this, your protagonist, there is a initial conflict. There's initial conflict that gets the protagonist involved in the action and in the story itself. This is that, but your protagonist doesn't want any part of it, right? Because normally I think of My Hero Academia. In My Hero Academia, the very first chapter, the very first episode, our main protagonist of that series, there is a conflict, and they know about all the circumstances surrounding their world they exist in, and there's a conflict, and the main character, Deku, rushes into the conflict to help, right? Without question. That's like his defining characteristic. He rushes in to help, no matter what. In this, Shinji is aware of the monster, he's aware of the conflict, but he doesn't want to get involved in it. He's like, no, I don't want to get in this thing that you've made that you've not told me anything about. And I don't blame him. It's just like they're just suddenly pushing this, like, we need you, hero situation on him. And he's like, I didn't ask for this. He's like, I just got here. This is crazy. Yes, I'm glad these characters are saying this. And Masato's saying, Shinji, why did you come? He's like, don't run away, not from... She kind of gaslights him too. She's like, don't run away, not from your father and not from yourself. It's like, why did he come? He's like, I know, but there's no way I can do this. And then he says, okay, wait, we got his name. We finally got his name. Yay. I want to see his name. He says Fuyutsuki. Fuyutsuki. Okay, I'll write his name down. I was like, yay, Fuyutsuki. Okay, Fuyu-chan. Fuyutsuki. Okay, so we got him. Yeah, I don't blame Shinji for acting that way. I don't blame him, because it's like, but then that does beg the question, why did he come? So, what did he expect? That's the question. And I'm hoping in future episodes we get an answer to this. Like, why did he agree to come see his father? If he knew his father was working in some top secret project to protect humanity, what did he hope was going to happen when he saw him? Right? And then this is like the ultimate gaslighting experience, because he's like, okay, fine, you won't wake up Rei. My kid's not going to help. Wake up Rei. And then Fuyutsuki says, is she viable? And Gendo says, she isn't dead. God. And he's like, okay. I'm just amazed. Amazed. They're like, the backup isn't working out. I need you again. And he's watching his son the whole time, his reaction. And Akagi watching Shinji. And then rewrite Unit 1's core system for Rei. Reactivate. Suspending and initiating reactivation. So they're like trying to sync it up with her instead of for him. And then Shinji has this, we're having like a main character have an existential crisis in episode 1 of this series. In the first episode, he's having an existential crisis. He's like, I knew it. No one wants me. So, yeah, basically, Shinji has this, like, sense of belonging issue. This issue of belonging. Okay, for the record, I'm about to say something that's an Attack on Titan Season 4 spoiler, and I'm going to put a time code here. I just want to say one quick thing, because I know people, as I'm recording this, people are watching my reactions to Season 4 of Attack on Titan. So as I'm going to put a little thingy up here saying spoilers, and when it disappears, we can go back to the conversation. But Shinji, this whole situation with him and his dad is like Zeke and Grisha. I'm just going to throw it out there. I just want to throw it out there. I'm getting total Grisha Zeke vibes from this Shinji and Gendo thing. All right? Just want to put it out there. Put it out there. If you want to tag down below Attack on Titan spoilers in the comments, it's fine. Okay. Back to this series. I just had to put it out there. But yeah, he's like, no one wants me. And so then we have Rei, and she comes in, and she's the girl he saw from the vision earlier, right? And she's like on an IV drip. They're like wheeling her out from a hospital gurney. She's clearly in no position to do anything. She's like got a bandage over her eye, and she's in the 0. She has the 0-0. Okay, so she's in the 0-0 unit. Okay, that's what that number means, I'm sure. and they're gonna try to put her in to this other thing. But I'm like, okay, so what's the deal? She's like super injured on here. Okay, she's super injured, and poor Shinji, like, I don't blame him. It's like, this is the ultimate guilt trip. It's like, oh, okay, you healthy young person who came here for reasons, you won't help us fight off the monster, then we'll get this half-dead girl to do it. Like, it's probably, they just spent the last part of the episode talking about how the synchronization is incredibly difficult and hasn't worked yet with Unit 1. But we're going to try it with her because this kid's not going to help. It's like, the hell? I feel for Shinji. I'm like, holy shit. And I get that, yeah, they need help and everything, but I don't blame this teenage kid who literally just showed up not wanting to be put in this mech to go fight a monster. I don't blame him. But then we have her falling out of the gurney, that gets attacked, and then as the LED lighting is going in there, the hand, I'm assuming the hand from earlier was the one that was reaching out for Shinji, right? And it saves Shinji from the stuff falling on him. And God, that shot of Gendo, it hits up against the glass, and he's like, He's like, this Eva unit is going to respond to my kid. The hell? What? Oh my God. And it protected him. And it did the exact same move that he did. It moved. And they're like, it shouldn't have done that. It wasn't plugged in to have any function. It doesn't have an entry plug inserted. There's something psychic about Shinji. There's some kind of psychic ability that Shinji has, or something that has merged or connected with this Evangelion unit. And it's like, it saved him. And Misato's like, this is going to work. Okay. But God, and then Shinji, he just goes straight for Rei to help her. And she's like physically in pain. Like she is. And then it opens its eye up again. And Shinji's like, ugh, I guess this girl's dying in my arms. And he sees the blood, and when he leans away, the blood's on his hand. He's like, well, damn it. I guess I'll help. Oh my God. And then that line, don't run away. Well, at this point, he's been gaslit into doing this. He's like, I'll do it. I'll be the pilot. God. Okay. And so their right arm reattachment. Okay, so they're getting all the stuff locked in. And then we get this dark-haired person. Okay. Inserting entry plug, whatever that means. It's like so we have this EVA 1 unit. Okay. Lots of sci-fi goodness. All this tech. Everything getting loaded, locked and loaded. And he has some kind of like sensors on his head. I'm assuming it's connecting him. And then it's like flooding the entry plug. So he was in the entry plug. Okay, so he was in it. And he's like, what is this stuff? Yeah. And they're like, don't worry. Once your lungs are filled with LCL, it will feed oxygen directly in your bloodstream. So this stuff feeds oxygen into you. Okay, it's like you're not drowning. You're just in this liquid that's oxygen. Great. And they're like, deal with it. You're a big boy. I'm like, he didn't sign up for any of this. What? Okay. Feeding all power to circuits. Oh my God. It's just crazy. So, and then it's almost like the nerve connection status green. Okay. So we have Evangelion like 2014. So it's like 01 test. So I guess those things on his head are like to establish a nerve connection with the mech itself. But it's like rainbow, like ioning, like the ions and stuff, the Cognis configurations, setting the base set rules for Japanese, like the language setting. It's just making Shinji into part of a computer, basically. What? It's like making him into part of a computer. And he's like, oh my God. Like his reaction, like the animation on Shinji's face, he's like, huh. Okay. The bilateral circuit. The synchronization's at 41%. Harmonics are all normal. Okay, everything's syncing up. All right, and they're good to go. And they're going to launch him. Okay. Okay. Okay, initiating umbilical bridge retraction. Okay. This is crazy. But yeah, so I guess that whole process is just to get you synced up the nervous system with the mech itself. Okay, and then I love the whole process of them like releasing the mech from all the different ports and everything and getting it all ready, and there's like all the power, and you see like all the different mechanics and stuff working with it. I've watched the series Jinlock, and Jinlock you can tell takes a lot of inspiration from this, right? From the launch bay, and it almost looks like, I thought that was the dad watching from the launch bay, but he's in another room, so that's interesting. I'm curious. But yeah, Shinji being like, he looks determined there, like, well, damn it, I've been made to do this. What the hell? And then, yeah, they're just going to flop him up there to fight the monster. And that's what's going on. Oh, my God. And so then, yeah, they're like, do we have a go, sir? And he says, absolutely. Unless we defeat the angels, humanity has no future. And him back with them gloves, like, looking as stoic as ever. What the hell? Okay. And they're like, are you sure about this? And I don't know if he smiles or if it's a grimace. I mean, that's your kid. You just put your son into a mech that they established had like a 0% chance of working. You just threw your son into it that has no experience to fight this monster that withstood nuclear blasts. And they're like, are you sure about this? And I don't think it's like not a smile, but it's not a frown. Huh. So he clearly isn't comfortable with it, but it's like they don't have a choice. But like, what? Yeah, and then Shinji's like, hell, getting bolted up through this. And then there's the angel, the two-headed angel now, the two-faced. And then, yeah, and then there it is. He just pops up through the elevator. Okay. And that's where we're going to end the episode, right? I'm with this kid! And then things looks like it's about to fire a nuclear blast at him. Yeah, Masato, she says, Shinji, don't die. So I've talked for an hour about episode 1. What did you all sign me up for? What did you sign me up for? This is episode 1 and we're an hour in. The hell? Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. It's fine. This is going to be a trip. This is going to be a trip. I can tell already. Holy crap. Okay. So yeah, so we've met some of our main characters. We don't really know a lot about Rei. We don't know a lot about her yet. The dad, he is a piece of work. He is interesting. I'm just floored that they've just thrown Shinji into this and he seemingly knows nothing. But he went there for a reason to see his dad, so I'm curious. And he was reading the manual and everything, so I'm curious. But Shinji's an interesting character so far. He's such a layered protagonist already because he comes across in different waves of different emotions. And I'm like, I don't know. He seems aloof at times, but then he seems hyper perceptive and he seems smart. But then he also seems kind of pessimistic and cowardly. But then they gaslight him into getting into this monster, into this mech to fight this monster. And we're getting this thing about angels being a threat. This whole thing about Nerv seems sketch. Getting Akagi and Masato involved. There's at least 2 units that we know of. There's at least Rei's unit and Shinji. We didn't get the girl with the red hair, which is interesting. We didn't get her at all in the red suit. I'm assuming there's a 3rd unit, or there will be a 3rd unit because she's in the suit like she'll pilot it. So I'm curious now. I want to look at her suit now that I have that image pulled up. See, she has a 2, so she's in another one, right? There's an O2 unit probably, so she's going to be the other one. All right, the question is she already in the unit, or is she going to become a pilot later on? Is she going to become a character we meet down the road? That's going to be interesting. But yeah, Shinji and Gendo and Rei, we don't know a lot about Rei yet. I feel bad for her. She looks like she got horribly beaten up. But I don't know by what, though, because they established this angel was like the first time in 15 years. Unless it's that specific angel. Unless the specific angel they saw was one they saw 15 years ago, and now it's come back, and they fought other angels in the meantime. I don't know. But yeah, happy first episode of the series. 25 more to go. This is going to be interesting. So, holy cow. I don't want spoilers, obviously, but I'm very curious to know your thoughts below. Hope y'all enjoyed my ramblings with Whiteboard-kun, trying to break down this series. I'm very curious how Shinji's even going to know how to fight this thing. Or if it's, since he's psychically linked, if they're just like, just punch it or do something. And I'm like, if they're, how you destroy these angels, how you incapacitate them, what all that involves. We don't know. We don't know. So, yeah. Fun times. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you for watching this reaction. I hope you enjoyed my discussion. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back next week with episode 2 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Bye.